You ever have one of those days when the whole world feels like it's running on someone else's rules and you're just waiting for your chance to flip the script? Picture this. The sun is baking the street in Baton Rouge, the kind of heat that soaks into your bones and makes every memory sharper, the smell of fried catfish drifting from somewhere behind you. And all of a sudden, a patrol car comes tearing down the road, breaking up the calm like a stone through glacier. That's the day I'm about to tell you about. And let me say, you're not ready for the way this story ends. So before we jump in, if you're one of those folks who love the story that punches you in the gut, then makes you cheer at the top of your lungs, stick around, because this one's going to do both. Late April, Baton Rouge. The sunlight was melting over everything, making the sidewalks look like they were paved with honey and fire. Lieutenant Amani Harper stepped out into that gold-drenched street like she'd never left. Even though it had been 7 years since she walked away after her mother's funeral, signed up for the Army, and became something nobody in that neighborhood could have imagined. 7 years since she left behind the corner store with its faded soda signs, the barbershop still full of old men arguing about nothing, and the basketball court where every game was life or death. Yet everything was just as she'd left it, which only made it feel even stranger like time stopped, just for her. Amani moved the way you'd expect someone with her history to move, shoulders square, chin set, nothing flashy in her old tee, cargo pants, and sneakers, but you could tell she was someone you shouldn't mess with. Her father called it her warrior stance, and it was still there, as if the years and all the desert storms in Kandahar and the screaming nights in Fallujah hadn't worn it down one bit. She was home, but not quite safe, not really, not with everything she'd seen. She was passing a group of teenagers lounging outside the corner store, and one of them, maybe 16, hat cocked sideways, looked her over, eyes squinting, and finally gave a little nod. Military, right? There was this spark in his voice, like he was hoping for something. Amani just smiled, letting the edges of all her old pride and pain come through for a second, and said something like that. The boy's face split in a grin. Knew it. My cousin. He's in the Army too. Walks just like you. Then, as fast as the moment came, it disappeared. A friend hollered from inside, and the spell broke just like that. That tiny exchange reminded her why she'd chosen this life, why all those years of sand and fear and brotherhood were worth it. But if she thought she was about to get a soft landing on her old street, she was dead wrong. That's when the patrol car rolled up, creeping too slow for this part of town, where cops usually just fly by, eyes straight ahead. Amani's instincts prickled. She could smell trouble in the way the tires grumbled on the pavement, in the way the window buzzed down to reveal Officer Derek Simonsa, white guy, pushing 50, buzz cut like sandpaper, arms thick as fence posts, sunglasses reflecting everything but what he was actually thinking. He called out, "Excuse me, ma'am," and Amani turned just enough to catch him, sizing her up, trying to figure out what kind of problem she was. "Can you tell me what you're doing around here?" he asked, and his tone might have been casual if it weren't for the way his jaw clenched on every syllable. Amani stared him down, her voice smooth as lake water. "Walking. That a crime now?" You could hear the sarcasm at the edges just enough to let him know she wasn't scared. Simon's mouth twitched. "We've had some robberies. Just making sure everything's in order." She didn't blink. "Did you see me robbing anything?" And right then, the whole mood on the block shifted, like the sky getting ready for a storm. He wasn't looking for an answer. He was looking for control. Guys like him always are. "It's my job," he shot back, leaning a little closer out the window. Amani forced herself to breathe, not to let him get under her skin. "Then I'm just walking." She thought that'd be the end of it, but you know how these things go. Wasn't about to let it drop. The car stopped, he got out, and his shadow stretched over the cracked sidewalk. "Let's see some ID." Now, most folks would get nervous, maybe start digging for their wallet, but Amani was built different. She didn't move right away. She sized him up, hand near his gun, stance all swagger, and realized this wasn't about routine patrol. This was about ego. She slipped out her military ID, held it so he could see but not take, but Simon snatched it anyway, turning it over like it was fake gold from a cheap fair. "Navy SEAL, huh? You sure this is real?" His voice carried just enough mockery to spark a fuse, but Amani held it down, like she'd done 1,000 times before. "You can check." You'll know soon enough. But checking wasn't what he wanted. He wanted her to break. And then, out of nowhere, a bystander young woman, maybe 20, phone out and camera rolling caught the whole thing. You could feel the eyes piling on. Neighbors watching from porches, kids peering over the edge of the basketball court, all of them waiting to see what was about to go down. Simons noticed, too. "You got a problem?" He snapped at the girl, but she just kept filming, her face a mirror for every other time a cop tried to flex. For the first time, Simon's confidence cracked. He stepped closer, tried to crowd Amani. "I give the orders here." She met his stare, unblinking. "Are you sure about that?" That's when it happened the moment he made his fatal move, tried to grab her wrist like she was just another troublemaker to be hauled in. Amani moved before he even finished the motion, her body memory snapping into place. She broke his grip, quick and precise, nothing flashy, just enough to put him off balance. The crowd gasped. "That's assault," Simon shouted, his voice cracking. Amani shot back, icy calm. "No, that's called avoiding unnecessary contact." Simons was losing control, and everyone saw it. He called for backup, his words trailing off into the thick Louisiana air. But now the crowd was with her. Someone yelled, "Backup for what?" Simon's face was going red, sweat beading under his sunglasses. "Turn around, hands behind your back," he barked, but his voice was shaking. Amani didn't move, just stared him down one last time. "You put those cuffs on me, you'll regret it." He forced a smile, the kind of smile you see in bad movies, and lunged. Big mistake. In one smooth motion, Amani twisted, pivoted, and had him turn around, arm pinned, not hurting him, just making him look clumsy and small in front of everyone. The crowd erupted, phones up, voices everywhere, and for a second, you could feel the world tilting in her direction. That's when Sergeant William Burke arrived, older, black, eyes tired but sharp, took it all in with one sweep, the crowd, the uniforms, the phone cameras. "What's going on here?" he demanded. Simons sputtered some nonsense about resisting arrest, but Burke saw the Navy ID in his hand, the crowd on her side, and you could see him doing the math. "Lieutenant Harper, Navy SEAL," he read aloud, and just like that, the whole vibe changed. He looked Simons dead in the eye, told him to stand down, and then right there, with half the neighborhood watching, relieved him of duty. Just like that. But here's the twist, the thing nobody expected. Burke turned to Amani, asked if she wanted to press charges. She could have, and everyone knew it. But she just looked at Simons, calm as ever, and said, "I already gave you the lesson you needed. No courtroom, no handcuffs, just a woman taking back her dignity with a whole block behind her." Later, as the sun set over her old porch, Amani sat beside her Uncle Ree, the man who taught her half of what she knew about surviving in a world stacked against you. She asked, "Does any of this change anything?" And he just smiled, slow and wise. "Maybe not everything, but something. And sometimes that's enough." So what about you? What would you have done in Amani's shoes? You think one person's courage can shift the whole story, even for just one day? Drop your thoughts below and share this story if it made you feel something, because the only way things change is if we tell these stories over and over until nobody's left standing alone.